If you ever find yourself with a free Tuesday night, there's a little ritual I've developed over the past 4 years. Strolling alongside the bulletin boards of Kresge Centennial Hall. In 30 seconds, you'll find invites to student film screenings, an event co-hosted by the College Republicans and the Marxist Reading Group, or even bowling with the Effective Altruism Club. Welcome to Northwestern. A few months ago, I told my parents I was getting a Kellogg certificate. You can imagine their joy. Finally, something their social policy major was going to get a return on investment from. But then I told them it was in enlightened disagreement. My mom asked if that was even a real thing, and I told her yes. And I bring Tupperware, so those dinners last me the whole week. You take what you can get as a non-meal plan senior. But in all seriousness, the program sits you deliberately next to students who see the world differently to you. And each module invites a speaker who approaches enlightened disagreement from a different angle. Every time I entered that room, I heard views I didn't know existed, changed positions I was sure were settled, and watched others do the same in real time. And then I left the room and realized not everyone got that memo. You don't need me to tell you what's in the headlines today. Institutions are fracturing from within, wars are swallowing cities whole, and an artificial intelligence revolution is rewriting the rules of knowledge, work, and truth faster than anyone can keep up. This is the world we're graduating into. And yet, I'm not entirely afraid for us. Because I believe Northwestern graduates leave here carrying something the world desperately needs. Something that makes me radically hopeful that we can humanize this increasingly dehumanizing world. Something I've watched our campus cultivate, showing up even in the smallest of moments. At a political union debate freshman year, coming from Hong Kong where open confrontation is not exactly our cultural norm, I watched two students argue with a ferocity that made me want to run out of the room. Thankfully I didn't, because 10 minutes later, I watched those same two individuals clink beers at the local pub. For my beloved Kresge Bulletin, I once followed a flyer to a dinner conversation about God. For 2 hours, I, a committed atheist, shared a home-cooked meal with people from all religious backgrounds, where we asked each other uncomfortable questions, agreed on almost nothing, but walked out infinitely more curious about the world than when we walked in. We've all heard Northwestern's old motto, and it's in our DNA. And for sure, it's a nod to everyone being a triple major with 20 extracurriculars, but I think what it's really pointing at is something far more profound than an awesome resume. For starters, it acknowledges the fact that we are each fascinated by so many things, but more importantly, made of many things. I remember the last time we were all gathered together as an undergraduate class. It was the last day of Wildcat Welcome orientation, and our speaker was leading us in this activity to stand up if a statement pertained to us. Who here is a first-generation college student? Who here has lost someone they love? Who here practices a religion most people wouldn't even have heard of? On and on, we stood and sat and stood again in every possible combination. I looked around my classmates, people I'd just spent a full week scrambling around this unfamiliar campus with, and realized I'd barely scratched the surface of who they were. The lives, the losses, the beliefs that had carried each of them to this exact seat. This, I believe, is the first gift we receive from Northwestern: proximity to each other's complexity, and if we're paying attention, the humility to be changed by it. But that change rarely feels graceful. In fact, it feels more like riding the CTA, stumbling into strangers and sliding across seats at every unexpected turn. But you're moving, you're getting closer to somewhere more exciting, and then on the worst jolt of all, you look up, and the Lakeville has now become the river, the little buildings have become the skyline, and you realize it was never despite the stumbling that you arrived somewhere beautiful, but rather because of it. So, stay on the train, embrace the jolts, stay in the room, and ask just one more question. Question those who oppose you, yes, but first, question those who agree with you and yourself. And sincerely, I welcome you to question this whole speech too. Stay fascinated, Wildcats. The world is louder than ever, but has never needed your questions more. Thank you and congratulations to my class of 2026.